Tony Lansfame. We're going to discuss Microsoft Secure Score and Microsoft Compliance Score today. Our presenter is Ken Rucci. He's a security specialist in state and local government. So I'll hand it over to Ken. And if you have any questions, feel free to either take yourselves off mute or post in the chat window. So take it away, Ken.
All right, thank you, Tony. Good afternoon, everybody. As Tony mentioned, my name is Ken Rucci, and I am a cybersecurity and compliance specialist with Microsoft. I've been with Microsoft about 13 years, and we cover just state and local government customers. So I'm happy to be here today to talk about two of the Microsoft, what we call secure scores, and how they can help your organization increase your security posture and also your compliance posture. So this is a tool that's built into Office 365. You have access to it with your Office 365 subscription for Secure Score, and the compliance score is part of Compliance Manager, which we will I'll show you when we move into that section. So first thing I want to do is talk about really why we built these tools and why we incorporated them into the product. As our customers move to the cloud, and especially in state and local government, as the attacks become more and more sophisticated, there are more and more ways that you can turn things on or take advantage of features. And a lot of times this is really difficult to keep up with. What new features are we adding to Office 365? What are some of the new recommendations? So when we think about the number of tools and the number of configurations that you can make, it's difficult to be able to put all those things together into one place. And when we look at security, security now is encompassing many different parts of our organization, right? It's information rights management. Microsoft focuses on the identity. We want to make sure that identity is secure. What are the ways that we can secure that and make it stronger? All of these things are part of the Office 365 cloud, and you, through your licensing agreement, have different aspects of this. And a lot of our customers say, where do we begin, right? Microsoft has given us a lot of great tools, but I don't know how to start. I'm not sure what I should be doing or even how to do it and what the impact would be. So the Secure Score and Compliance Score is our way to enable you to easily look at some of the things that you can do. And I've heard it referred to as almost a gamification of security. Being able to implement something gives you a percentage increase. So it's an easy way to look at where am I at. Also, for a lot of customers, this is a way that we can report back where we are with security. What are some of the changes? How are we trending? What are some of the things that we are doing to make us more secure? So when we think about it, and I'll go through an environment where I'll walk through this, but for the introduction part, I just wanted to kind of go over some of the foundational components of Secure Score. So we break it down into different categories: identity, data, your devices, applications, and your infrastructure. This way, if different people are responsible for different areas of your security environment, which is common for a lot of our customers, we can focus on those and take a look at each one of those. And also, it gives you your overall score based on the total number of scores. This score is based on what products you have. So we factor in what you're licensed for, what things you can turn on. So you only see the things that you actually can enable. And the way we do this is we provide improvement actions. So we'll suggest things like turn on multi-factor authentication for administrative roles. You'll be able to see what kind of impact that will have. So if you look at the slide here, one of the impact actions is turn on MFA, and that gives you a 10% increase in your score. And then we also allow you to give us a status of that. So this is something that I'm looking at. This is something I'm going to address. This is also important. We can say we have another product that takes care of that. So maybe if you're using another tool for multi-factor authentication, we can allow you to mark that, and then we'll take that out of the suggestion list, and we'll update your security posture with that. So once we look at these improvement actions, when we get to the demo, it'll show you how to turn it on, a lot of reference information on what you would need to do and what some of the impact would be. And the way that we do this is we make it easy for customers to take advantage of this. And we know that security is a team sport. So if you're working with different departments or agencies or however your organization is made up, and we want to be able to turn something on, but we're not sure what the impact would be from an organizational standpoint, we now have the ability to share that information out. We can integrate with ticketing systems. So if the people that are responsible for creating the security posture or security information aren't necessarily ones that are going to implement it, and a common situation is the folks that manage the endpoints or the patches are not the same as the security analysts, but we're driving that policy and making recommendations for that. We can now integrate with things like ServiceNow to open up a ticket. We can share information. I can send you an email on something that we want to do, and they can review it to see how that would affect, or if that's something that maybe we've already done, we just haven't recorded it. Then we also want to be able to see how effective is that. So we'll be able to provide some analysis and insight into what that change is going to make within your organization, how it affects the users. And we also have the ability to aggregate this out of saying, okay, this is something that may have, a big impact on the user and experience, or this may be minimal. So we want to be able to look at all of that information and gauge whether it's something that we wanted to roll out or provide it with a different timeline. The other thing that we can do is we can actually see not only are we increasing in our security posture, but what if we're taking a few steps back. If changes have been made or configurations have been reset, we can also see that within the Secure Score environment. The other thing is, because we are giving you this dashboard view, we have the ability to create reports. So for a lot of organizations, this is something that we want to report up, and using that Secure Score idea is something that can give you that green light, red light concept to give you that high level view. We can also provide trending reports to see, are we trending up over time, and then also have you compare how your organization is doing compared to similar size, similar industries. So it gives you a good idea of where you stand. And these are things that a lot of customers are really interested in. How are we doing compared to other government customers? What about other, similar size agencies? Are we doing good, better? All of that information is available within Secure Score that you can take a look at. And I'll show you that once we get into the demo environment. So how does Secure Score work? I mentioned this briefly, but we are taking all of the recommendations and all of the policies that you have access to or configure across the Microsoft stack. So foundational things like Azure Active Directory, where all your identities are stored, the applications that users have access to SharePoint, what sites do I have roles to, where can I store my data, all the way down to Microsoft Cloud App Security. So even extending that protection and those improvements to your other software applications, like we talked about ServiceNow, any other cloud application that you're using, we can provide guidance and recommendations for that as part of Secure Score. So all of those things we are factoring into it, and then we are making all of those recommendations up into Secure Score and identifying them as controls. So now you can look at our overall assessment of where you are, what you should be doing, and keep track of that. So by aggregating and putting all of this information across the Microsoft stack and products into one place, you have the ability to look and see where do I need to address things? What are some of the things from a compliance standpoint that we need to take into effect? And that gives you your secure score. And I mentioned we'll provide you with kind of a point in time. You also have, I can see, are we regressing? Are we doing better? What does it look like over the last 30 days? All of that information is right there within Secure Score. Again, this is something that's included with your Office 365 subscription. And a lot of our customers weren't aware of really the extent to what Secure Score can do. So I'll show you that once we get into the demo. So if we move to a compliance score, it's very similar in Secure Score, except this is looking at your compliance environment, right? This isn't just looking at security controls and what's turned on, but it's looking at where your policies are. What information do your end users have access to? And more importantly, where do you fit on your compliance scale? We have, as part of Compliance Manager, which Secure Score is, we have the capability to run assessments on, things like Nist. There are a bunch of other things that you can run an assessment on. And then from that, those recommendations can be factored into compliance score. So you can see on a running basis where you are. So when we look at compliance manager and with compliance score within there, we cover a wide variety of regulations and compliance standards. I mentioned, NIST, we have 800-171 and 853, and HIPAA, GDPR, FedRAMP. All of those are built-in templates that you can use to run that on your environment to assess where you are and what are some of the things that you should be doing. So with that quick overview, let me just stop sharing here and let me go ahead and pull up my environment, and I can walk you through exactly what this looks like. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Okay.
There's not in the chat window, Ken.
Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and just share my screen. Hopefully everybody can see this. Okay. So let's first take a look at Secure Score. So you can get to Secure Score. You need to be a global administrator to log in. And you can go to securescore.microsoft.com. And this is also incorporated into the new unified portal, the security portal. So there are a couple of ways that you can get there. But as I mentioned, when you first log in, you'll see your overall Secure Score. So this is my demo environment. There's not a whole lot going on in here. So my score is pretty low, and that's a good thing because there's a lot of things that I can do to walk you through this. So you can see my score is 36, percent. I have 329 points out of 895, right? So I've got a ways to go. Here's that breakdown that I had mentioned, and then here's all of the improvement actions that are being recommended. And you can see these are not just Microsoft recommendations from a product standpoint, but also factor in things like Adobe Reader. Right here, we're recommending block Adobe Reader from creating child processes. And if I click on that, this is going to bring up the information page about that, and it's going to give me the information that I would need to do to turn it on. So here, this is actually one of the attack surface reduction rules. If you aren't familiar with attack surface reduction, this is a set of configuration standards that's built into Microsoft Defender for Endpoint that can be turned on. So these are essentially a set of hardening rules that are pre-configured that would just need to be turned on, and then they apply another layer of security. So this is one of the recommendations of that. You can see this is a device-based rule. This is part of Defender for Endpoint. And you can see here I have no information. So if I wanted to manage that, I could actually just go ahead and click on that. That'll take me to that setting in the other console that I can use to set this up. So we provide all of this information in one place and link it back. what you need to do, what's the impact to your environment. So all this is one place. I don't have to go to 5 different places. This is all information that's in one place from me. So if I can scroll through here, I can see all of these different actions that are turned on. As I mentioned, I can show my history, right? So here is kind of where I am at a point in time, and then I can see back through different days. This is all you have the ability to focus this, and you can see here what I did to get that information. When we start to look at that comparison that I mentioned, we can go here and I can see what my score is. I can see here similar organizations like mine. And then you also have the ability to set what your industry is. So in here, I can put my size, what licenses do I have. So I'm ensuring that I'm looking at kind of like for like where I am, what environment I am, and you can pick multiple ones. If I go ahead and save that, now that's going to give me a different comparison and information that I can look at. And then if I want to go to look at the history, all of this information is here, and you do have the ability to go back. So for example, here I turned on self-service password. Here's that status that I had mentioned, right? So we can go into each one of these improvement actions and say, this is planned. I can put some, information in here, or this is where if you're using something else, like I mentioned, self-service password, we're using someone else, and that way I won't, have that factored into my secure score on a regular basis. So all of this is right within one place, and it does give you, a kind of a one-stop shop to manage each one of these employment or improvement actions. Okay. So in a nutshell, that really is from the secure score side, the kind of the overview, what it does, and how you can use this to improve your security posture and take advantage of all of the integration that Microsoft has built into this. And one of the things that when we talk to customers that they like about Secure Score is that it gives them a starting point. Right. Usually when you move to Office 365 or add new products to your Microsoft stack, it's kind of a it's a little bit overwhelming because all of the things that you have access to. Where do I start? How can I secure it? So Secure Score gives you that jumping point where I can look at here's all the things that I can do, and here's how I can actually implement them. So I don't have to, kind of start looking through docs and let's say someone told me I should be doing this. How do I do that? What's the impact going to be? What can break? Well, having this available to you in Secure Score kind of makes that a lot easier and creates a path for you to move forward. Okay, so what I want to do next is let's just transition away from Secure Score and look at Compliance Manager. So the Compliance Manager has the Secure Score equivalent built into that. And as you can see, it's very similar look and feel, gives you kind of where you are, same point system. But then also here is your improvement actions. So you'll see here that these type of improvement actions are a little bit different than what you would see from Secure Score. Some of them are the same, but it's all about improving your compliance scores. So you'll see things like information rights management. You'll see DMARC rule. And if I just take a look at all of the improvement actions, if I scroll here, you can see now these are tied to different regulations. So one of the assessments that I did in this tenant was a Nist 853 assessment. And I won't really get too much into Compliance Manager here, but just know that there are different assessments that you can run. And then we'll take all of the improvement actions out of those assessments and populate them within your Compliance Manager score. So here is set up anti-phishing policies, what needs to be done, apply sensitivity labels, right? So that's another, compliance piece here. Why would you want to use it? And again, we have that same ability to say it's been implemented, it's planned, what's the date, is there testing going on? I can add that information. What standards does this fall into? So from a compliance, right? The nice thing is we break this right down to the control. So if I use labels, it's addressing this part of our risk assessment, different sections within that. And then we also give you the ability to, if you have testing documents or change control, things that would need to be tracked, you have the ability to attach all of those as well. Okay, so if I go back, we can factor all of this into here, and you can see these are different types of controls and actions that are applied to the compliance pieces as opposed to what we would see with SecureScore, where it's more about configurations and information with there. So the other thing that breaks this out is if I want to look at what solutions do I own, right? So here I'm looking at Azure Active Directory, Intune. If you're using Intune to manage your mobile devices, I can see here what my score is. I can see different regulations that is there, and then what controls are remaining, right? So from a product standpoint, this is nice to be able to share with different teammates who are managing different parts of the environment. So if I want to, include the mobile device team here, I can look and see, okay, here's all of the improvement actions for the mobile world. Here's all the things within there that need to be done, right? So here's this disallow simple passwords on mobile devices. How do we do that? Here's the information on how to implement it. And again, you can track from within here all of the different links to the documentation, implementation date, what standards, again, factor into this, what controls, and then pull in any of the documents that you have. Okay. So I mean that was a whole lot to cover, but in the end, this is a pretty powerful tool that has a pretty comprehensive view into what your security and your compliance environment looks like, and what do you need to do to increase that? What are some of the recommendations, and what do I look like in a point in time, and being able to go back and forth to say, last month we were 35%, this month we're 42%, so we can see that we're definitely making progress, and here's all the things that we did to bring that score up. So that's really all that I had. I'm happy to take questions, or if you have any follow-ups and would like to see more or have a deeper discussion, please reach out to your account team. I'm happy to set up some time to go over this again. I think this is a great feature that Microsoft has built in, and I want to make sure that you're taking advantage of it. So
yeah. So Ken, when you say that you're happy to go through this again, we would actually walk through the customer's environment through their secure score, their compliance manager, to kind of see what could be tweaked to bolster that score up.
yeah, I think a lot of times it's more impactful for looking at your environment. So if a customer is is willing to share that information with us, I'd be happy to have that conversation with them.
Thanks. So that being said, are there any questions or comments? You feel free to take yourself off mute or type into the chat window. Oh, there we go. We got a question from Paul. Does Microsoft have plans to offer a compliance manager to other products outside of the Office 365 environment, such as Dynamics 365, for example?
So I know that there is another secure score, the identity score, that's part of Azure Active Directory. So a very similar concept, and we talked about the security for your Office 365 environment, for your compliance environment. We have the same for Azure Active Directory. I wouldn't. I don't know off the top of my head, if there is something for Dynamics, but I would imagine that same concept is something that we're looking to do across the stack, because I think everybody has the same, kind of same, not issue, but concerns of where do I start with all of this. So
absolutely. Hey, Paul, I'll reach out to our Dynamics SSP specialist to see if they have any insight into that question. So it's a great question. Thanks. Any other questions? Okay, so like I said, that's a wrap for today. So thank you, Ken. Thank you, everyone, for attending. If you want a deep dive or with Ken, or if you'd like us to take a look at your environment, feel free to reach out to the account team, myself, Tony Lanzafame, and we're glad to set that up. Have a good day. Thanks.
thanks, guys.